Hi, I'm Jim Shaw, publisher of the Lexington Times Magazine and chairman of the board of LexMedia. I want to welcome you to another installment of our Coffee with the Candidates, where we take a few minutes to talk with candidates about their thoughts and ideas about why they're seeking certain offices. Today, I've got the pleasure of talking with Salvador Jaramillo, and of course, I may be assassinating his name. I'm sort of pronouncing it as phonetically, but before I get any further, let me just say, Salvador, how do you pronounce your last name?
So my last name is Jaramillo. So the J is like an H and the two L's are like a Y, so Jaramillo.
Jaramillo,
Yeah.
okay,
Yes.
well that's what I'll do going forward. So Salvador, it's a pleasure to have you with us. Today you're seeking a term on the Lexington School Committee. Currently, you're a sophomore at Harvard University, studying molecular and cellular biology.
Yes.
That's a mouthful.
Yes, it is.
Well, congratulations
Thank you.
on that. It's quite an achievement. Tell us, I want you to take a couple minutes to tell us a little bit about who you are, the folks at home and the voters in Lexington, get to know a little bit more about who you are, why you're running, why this is so important to you. I mean, I think your perspective is a little different because you're so freshly out of the school,
Yes.
so you're close to it from that perspective. And as a student versus a parent, you know, the issues can sometimes be different. So tell us a little bit about what inspires you. Tell us some of the things that you did while you were at the high school and why you're interested in this job.
Yes, of course. Well, I was born in a rather desolate part in Indiana. I attended schools there for a little bit, but my family then moved to St. Louis, and then finally we found ourselves here in Lexington and Boston and for middle school. And so I attended Clark Middle School, and shortly after that I was elected to class president of the 8th grade class at Clark, and I continued that role at Lexington High School. And it was something that I really genuinely proud of, and something that I worked on at the schools, meeting with members of the student body and learning more about the administration and dealing with the administration, trying to be an advocate for students at the high school. During my time at high school, unfortunately, my father lost his job, and my family experienced homelessness for many years. And it's something that I have experienced living in attics or basements or really wherever we called home. And so it was a experience that really had an effect on me and during my career at in Lexington High School. And I think it's something that I really learned about the successes and failures of our school. Of course, I went on to attend Harvard, but it did not come out without its struggles. And so I think that's a perspective that I really can bring, not only as a current student from the Lexington High Public Schools, but also as a student who doesn't have a traditional track through our schools here. And so I think that we need a fresh perspective. We can benefit from a fresh perspective. I think for many years we've talked about the mental health, we've talked about overcrowding in our schools, we've talked about capital projects like the new high school. And I think that we do not currently have a current school committee member who has attended the Lexington Public Schools. And I think that is something that is an oversight. We need to have someone who's been through the system, who understands what it means to be on the other side of the classroom, and who can speak on the issues that our students are currently facing. And I think that I'm in the unique position to speak on the issues and challenges they face, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. I graduated in the middle of 2020, in the middle of all the chaos that was
I was there, front and center, taking photos and watching the COVID graduation car parade.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, people made the best of it, but it was a very serious situation.
Yes.
I mean, everybody did the best they could, and and there's no doubt people feel like they were shortchanged, and they should have. But anyway, well, that's good. Well, I think it's wonderful that you're stepping forward and offering this perspective, and I think it punctuates. We always think of Lexington as an affluent community. I grew up in a family when I was a child. We didn't come from means financially, and so we struggled a little bit until my father got more successful in business and changed his career. But even today, here is sitting right in front of me an example of what it means to struggle through, and I'm sure things are getting better. I hope they are.
Yes, of course.
And you were able to turn it into something really good with being able to get into Harvard University, and that's not an easy feat in any, no matter what your means are. So congratulations. I want to talk to you about some of the issues that are driving you in this. So if I were to say to you, Salvador, tell me, give me 3 issues off the top of your head that are really important to you. Give me if you can discuss that a little bit, because these are, I'm sure, some of the things that have driven you towards this race.
Yes, of course. So I think the first thing I would say is really our response to COVID-19. I think a lot has changed in our education system, maybe 10 years ago, but definitely in the past 2 years.
Right.
And I think that there are many challenges that our students are facing that are really difficult, right? And they require us to have a perspective of understanding the technological society we live in right now. And I think that as a student who understands remote learning, who understands what it means when school is canceled, and who understands what the mental and emotional health issues our students are facing right now, this is something that I think we need to really be adaptive and reactive in our response, right? And I think that it's something that we really can work on as a school committee member, as a school committee.
Right.
Moving on, I think looking at the budget is something that's very important. As a student who did unfortunately suffer as a result of financial hardship in this town, it's something that I really want to focus on how we can sustain our budget. It's something that many residents in Lexington really care about and worry about. We have not only parents of students who really care about the education, but we also have seniors in our town who have lived in Lexington for many decades and are seeing themselves not being able to afford to live in our town. And I think that's really sad. It's really something that we need to really work on, especially as we are gaining more capital projects such as a new Lexington High School, which is going to cost us $400 to $500 million.
Right. So let me ask you, so what you're saying is in essence, we need to be more prudent in our decisions, and not just assume there's an endless amount of money to spend.
Correct.
You're not saying we shouldn't spend money.
No.
Right, but we have to be more, not necessarily frugal, but more accountable.
Yes.
Particularly, as you say, to the seniors who are, who have maybe put their kids through school and are having a difficult time or a challenging time staying here in the community.
Yes.
I think that's a real issue.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I think that we can make smart decisions without compromising our quality of education. Of course, I would never try to say cut spending, but I think with the discretionary spending we do have, we can make more effective and smart decisions.
Right.
Things like technology and other programs that
Foreign language you were talking about.
Language,
Tell me a little bit about that, because I know that's of interest to a lot of people.
Yes. No, well, of course. It's something that for many years the superintendent and the school committee have been working on trying to re-implement foreign language to our elementary students. And I think, of course, it's a great idea. I fully support it. However, I think in terms of sustainability, right, the budget now is well over $128 million. It makes up more than 74% of our town budget. It has a direct effect on the cost of living in Lexington. And I think that there are ways to implement programs gradually rather than using, funding such as COVID-19 ESSER 3 grant money, and to have a smart approach to how we can implement this with our teachers and with our schools. And so I think that this is something I would really want to work on. I want to facilitate the conversation with our superintendent and with our town, and seeing where we can get the money to do this, because I very much want to do this, but it's going to require a lot of discussion and a lot of work.
Right. Any other issues?
Yes.
Feel free to go forward.
Yes. I think when we look at the curriculum, when we look at mental health for our students, it's something we've talked about for many years. As a freshman at Lexington High School, my really introduction to the school was that there was a student suicide in my freshman year. It was something that had a direct impact on me, and it foresaw what I would have to go through at Lexington High School. And I think that this is something that we need somebody who's not only seen mental health issues in our schools, but who has experienced it firsthand. And so I really care about looking at ways at the curriculum that we can help introduce more flexibility, and also try to work on things like the graduation requirements so that students are not so pressured to take classes that they don't genuinely enjoy. And I think offering that flexibility at Lexington High School is very important. And there are ways that we can help talk to teachers, talk to students, and finding a common ground to work on these issues and to better our curriculum in civics, in science, and math. Everything.
Do you think there's an appetite there for that with the professional staff, the teachers, the administration?
Yes, I think mental health doesn't just apply to students,
right?
As a student, I saw and I felt that teachers and administration, they themselves are very stressed.
Right.
And it's a cycle where students are stressed. It goes back and forth.
Right.
And I think that addressing this culture and looking at what our expectations are, how we define success, because having students taking only AP classes or honors classes does not determine success.
Right.
And I tell, I tutor here in Lexington, and I give advice to many students, and I say, if you really want to be successful, it's not about how well you're able to copy AP classes or how well you're able to copy grades. It's really about how you are able to pursue your interests and passions and make a story out of it, right? Why are you doing this, right? What is your goal, right? Perhaps you don't have a goal or career goal yet, right? But what are you doing to make sure that you're reaching that level, right? And so I think that that's really important when we speak to our students and to our teachers, that we're giving the opportunities for them to choose electives and to choose the necessary classes that they want to pursue and be successful.
Middlesex Community College has launched an initiative with the high school that allows for sort of a jump start.
Yes.
What do you think of that? Is it being well received? Is it something that you would support going forward? I know that sort of in an initial stage, they've started one course this year. I think they're going to add physics in the fall or something. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yes, well, they did not have that when I was there, but
No,
I know it's a
they don't.
recent addition, and
Right.
I'm very, very happy that they did that.
What do they call that program?
Middlesex Community College.
Middlesex Community
Yes.
College, but it's my fault. I should have.
No.
I'm just kind of throwing it out there, but there is a name of the program, and I apologize to
Dual.
Middlesex Community.
Yes.
Dual enrollment.
Dual enrollment, yes.
There you go.
Dual enrollment, yes.
There you go. So you think it's a good thing for the students. It does give them an opportunity. And it doesn't matter. It's Middlesex Community College. I think they're a gem in the community. Even for kids who are aspiring to Harvard and all of that.
Yes.
I mean, you, as someone who did end up going to Harvard, you would have taken advantage of something like this.
Of course.
Yeah.
And I think what people don't realize is that advanced placement classes are supposed to replicate college classes.
Right.
But when you're dual enrolled, you're actually in a college class and you're getting a grade and you're getting credit for it.
At both at the high school and at college
the
level.
college, yes. So you have two transcripts, and when you submit your application to colleges, they can see that you really did take a college class. And I think advanced placement classes, I took many advanced placement classes, but one thing that Harvard doesn't do is accept advanced placement classes. And so having that on my record and being able to show that I actually attended a college course at Middlesex Community College is very valuable, right?
Yeah.
Beyond wherever you attend college. So yes, I'm very happy.
What do you think about our superintendent? I mean, she gets high grades all the time. We were just talking about, mental health issues and stress and all of that.
Yes.
I've seen her out at, Asian hate rallies, and all of this. And every time I turn around, she's at Black Lives Matter rallies. I mean, she's engaged. This woman is engaged on a lot of levels. And I think her heart's really in the job. But, no one's ever really that perfect.
Yes.
So, I mean, what if you were to grade her, would you say she's got high marks? I'm not going to ask for an A, B, or C.
No,
but
of course. I think she has done a terrific job. And I know her professionally, but I also know her due to my circumstances as being a student who was homeless in this district, that she's someone who really cares and really, on a personal level, right, is willing to help you and to give you advice. And so in that way, I've known her in that capacity.
Not many people have, I imagine, not like that,
yes,
right.
Yes, and so I think she has done a terrific job. Albeit, right, she juggles a lot being the superintendent. She leads our school, she runs our schools, and of course she doesn't do a perfect job. No one does. I don't expect anyone to do so.
Particularly when we're calling audibles left and right to to use a football term, because the play changes.
Yes, of course. Yes, and so I think that's where I really see the role of the school committee. The role of the school committee is to be there to point out, to ask questions, right? To question her judgment on certain issues. And I think that as a role as a school committee, I'm not afraid to ask questions that might be in disagreement with
Let's
her.
switch to that. Transparency.
Yes.
That's an important issue for you.
Yes.
How do you see the issue of transparency playing out?
I think we really need to ask the hard questions. I've attended many school committee meetings, and I wish that there were more questions to ask, right? I think that when we discuss things such as masking or discussing the return to remote learning, I wish there was more facilitation of conversations of different views that residents have in Lexington. And I think that, yes, we've made decisions as a school committee, we've made decisions as Lexington Public Schools, but we need to really listen to both sides and to take into consideration of how we're going to move forward. We need to have a plan, and it involves listening to people and understanding their side and their point of view. And so I think that in my capacity as a school committee member, and as a person who's also on the younger side, I have a unique ability to not only speak to parents and teachers and the administration who I know well, but also students and what they're going through on a daily basis, because it can change. In a year from now, we don't know what will happen, right? But I think that I'm someone that students can approach and that I could be a resource for them on top of the many resources they already have.
Right. Have you been staying up on all of the information flowing around regarding the new high school?
Yes.
What's your take on the new high school? It's going to be an expensive proposition, but we've kicked the can down the road for too long at this point.
Yes.
I know that we've had other obligations, and I'm absolutely thrilled that we're finally getting the police station done.
Yes.
Public safety is always, a paramount issue in this
Yes.
community, but so is education. And I think, I grew up, and I laugh because people talk about the California campus concept, and I walked that California campus
Yes.
here in Lexington, Mass.
Yes.
Class of '79, and for those who don't understand it, basically it's the outside walkways with a little overhang that you can walk under and stay away from the elements. So it could be the middle of February, it could be a major snowstorm, and you're walking outside from building to building.
Yes.
So I'm not sure what the new plans, I honestly haven't taken a deep dive into them. So tell us a little bit about them and where you come down on that.
Yes. Well, I agree. We've kicked the can way too. This was a discussion we had when I was in middle school, right? And I'm now speaking as a candidate for the school committee. And I think that it's something we really need to have a plan for, right? I think that we are waiting for the MSBA's approval to invite them into the capital pipeline. However, there's no guarantee that we'll be invited. And we really have to wait till March 2nd to really make a decision on that. But I think regardless of whatever happens with the MSBA, we need to really seriously have a conversation about, as a community, is this something we want to do now?
Right.
And I think it's something that we desperately need, and we need to really push town meeting to have a feasibility study to really work on these issues if we do not get the submission from the MSBA. And I was a student who ate his lunch from his knees because there's not enough room in our cafeterias for our students, especially given the COVID-19 pandemic and the social distancing that needs to happen. And so I think that we need to really have that conversation. We need to be really pushing ourselves to have a plan, to understand, to ask the tough questions, right? What does this high school is going to look like? Safety is one of the concerns I had as well. I'm going to say it's not particularly hard to enter one of our schools, and this is something across the nation that safety is something that I really am concerned about. And I think that especially even
It's interesting, yeah.
Yes.
It's interesting. From your perspective, having been a recent graduate,
Yes.
during this proliferation of school shootings and other things, just people being able to wander into a campus.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's of concern to you.
No, it definitely is, and it's something that I think about because I see it on the news. Many people see it on the news, and we think that this can never happen to a town like Lexington. Well,
Right.
I'm sure all the communities that did have that unfortunate event happen said the same thing before. And so I think that this is something we really need to look at and really try to be creative on. And so that's my view on that.
We got about 2 minutes left, but I want to talk about something that I haven't talked about with other candidates. But and again, someone who's been on campus and gone through the school system from a relatively early. When did you arrive here again? You said.
We arrived here the winter 2014. So
And so what grade were you in at the time? Were you in middle school?
Yes, middle
okay,
school.
Middle school. School nutrition. How important is school nutrition? Particularly, like you say, for folks who may not be able to afford it or what have you, but having a nutritious breakfast to start the day. Because when I was a kid, it was lunch.
Yes.
We didn't have breakfast and all of that. But
Yes.
things have changed. Tell me a little bit about your ideas on school nutrition.
Yes, no, this is something I was a person who was on the free and reduced lunch program at our schools, and
And so, as was I, by the
Yes.
way, when I was at Harrington School.
yes,
I don't ever really tell people that because it's when you think about it, it's like it's hard to believe that could happen in Lexington. But my father lost his job due to an industrial accident with 7 children. It was tough.
No, and I think this goes for anybody in Lexington. Things happen, right? And it's really, we don't get to choose the times we live in, but we get to choose how we respond to it.
Right.
And I think when we look at school lunches, it's something where students with reduced school lunches do not have the ability to ask for more food when they need it. And I think that this is something that I really experienced as a student. There's times where I was hungry after eating my lunch, right? I'm someone who's going through a lot of the stresses and pressures of being a Lexington High School student. And I think really looking at how we help our students with breakfast and lunch and even dinner, right? There's certain cases where some students don't have dinner, right, or the ability to eat it. And so I think really reaching out to our students and making sure that they have what they need to be successful.
And it's tough. It's got to be, because I remember it was tough. You watch kids, reach into their pocket and buy all kinds of stuff.
Yes.
and you just can't do that.
Exactly.
And it's a hard thing.
Yes.
And I tip my hat to you for that. It says our time's up, but I'm going to give you a chance to close. Take a couple of seconds to tell people, in the closing, how they can reach you, how they can learn more about you, and give them a last-minute pitch for a vote.
Yes, of course. Well, I would say perspective. I think if I'm going to sum up my campaign, it's about perspective. It's something that I have the ability to tackle issues in a very different angle from my opponents in terms of how we look at mental health, overcrowding, the budget, because I've lived them as a Lexington High School student, and it's something that I really care about. I'm doing this because our students are suffering right now, and I worry about its implications if we do not address the mental health and emotional health issues that they face in the classroom today. And I think I understand their skepticism with people and thinking about how young I am and my ability to serve on the school committee. But I think that I've proven in my own life that I've been able to overcome challenges and to have good judgment on issues that really matter. I attend one of the best educational institutions in the world. I work and do research at one of the best hospitals in the nation. And I think that I'm also now an elected official in one of the most respected communities in Massachusetts. And I think that other towns across Massachusetts are electing young people to their committees, to their town councils, and to their school committees. And I believe that Lexington needs this. We need a fresh perspective, and we need someone who can speak on the issues now rather than later. I think I would encourage all of you who are watching today to reach out to me. My website is salvadorforlexington.com, FORLexington.com. And I really implore all of you to reach out to me. My phone number is 781-266-7464. Call me anytime. I have my phone ready, and I'm more than happy to speak to residents and ask any questions, answer any questions that residents may have. So I really thank everyone for this experience and for really making a difference. And so I hope to garner one of your votes on March 7th.
Well, we're pleased to have you with us. And I just want to emphasize, I don't know if we made it clear before, you are an elected member of town meeting.
Yes.
Precinct 5?
Yes.
Precinct 5. Recently elected.
Yes.
So you're not one of those folks who, I see the bumper stickers, democracy is not a spectator sport. You're not a spectator.
No.
Good for you. I want to wish you all the best going forward. March 7th is the election. I'll remind folks again. I want to thank you for being part of our Coffee with the Candidates segment. And we bring this to the voters' election and to try to give them a little bit more insight into who the candidates are. And I thought you expressed yourself very well today. So I think people would be very fortunate, if you were among those elected. That's not an endorsement.
Yes, of
I'm
course.
just saying you're an impressive young man, and as are the other candidates. But I think you may have connected with some people today. Again, thank you very much, and we will be also talking with candidates for the Board of Selectmen and with folks who are representing either side of the question on question 1, the referendum on leaf blower and noise. Those segments will be coming up. And I want to thank you again, Salvador, and thank people for tuning in.